Happy Valentine's month, everybody. I'm the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to share with you some of my favorite Valentine's Day episodes from TV shows or even movies. Not everything is all lovey-dovey. Sometimes Valentine's Days deal with heartache and everything. So, some episodes will be romantic and lovey-dovey, while others will be very sad and heart-wrenching and stuff. But love is love. It doesn't always come with smiles and giggles and glee. So, I'm here today to talk to you about Power Rangers Ninja Storm. I love Lothor. Yes, there's love in the air in this episode. Power Rangers Ninja Storm is one of my favorite seasons. It came out when I started my first year of college. It was the true first Disney Power Rangers series that aired on ABC Saturday morning and whatever their Disney XD thing was, whatever they had back then. But even though Wild Force was technically a hybrid of Fox Kids and Disney, but this is the first true Disney one. Also, what's really interesting is that this is one of the first, well, actually, it's the first Power Rangers series to not only be filmed entirely in New Zealand, but it's the one that had an entirely New Zealand and Australian cast. There were no American stars whatsoever. And this is something that will continue with the rest of the Disney era in a couple of their seasons. And it was very unique and interesting because I was just kind of hey, where are the American people at? And I was also shocked that it was filmed in New Zealand until I read the end credits, which normally I don't. But I decided to because I like the song too, the intro song and the ending credits, and it said filmed in New Zealand. I'm like, oh hey, that's that place Hercules and Xena was filmed in. And I'm just why did they go over there for? Didn't know at that time Saban had sold the company, and then they went overseas to save money and stuff like that. But Ninja Storm was very unique. It had kids that were extreme teenagers, and they did extreme things from motocross to skateboarding to surfing. They used all kind of slang lingo of that time. It was the first time I ever heard the word sick being used in a good way. I was so confused. I remember and everything. And the Disney era did one thing that started in this season that I will never forgive them for, because it has continued until Power Rangers, even till today. And that is, it reintroduced comedy into Power Rangers, humor. And that has been bringing down the series ever since, to the point where it's back to looking like a kid's show, especially in the Nickelodeon era. Because in the Fox Kids era, somewhere towards the middle and the end, everything started getting more serious and everything. And not only more serious, it's slightly edgier, I guess you could say. And then this show brought back the humor. But when it brought back the humor, this one had a lot of comedy humor, but only from the villains. Every villain was comedic for some bizarre reason. And so normally in the Disney era, there's one or two people that's comedic, normally the Rangers, and the villains stay serious. But in this one, every villain is just a comedian almost. And it got a bit too much for some people. I know it did for me and everything. And JDF said, he was asked to be brought in for Dino Thunder the next season because he said ratings were dropping and he had to save the franchise. I don't know if he had to save the franchise, because Ninja Storm was pretty good, but there was two main problems. One, the humor, and two, people didn't know if this was connected or not. They thought this was gonna be a Digimon season 3 Tamers, where Power Rangers is fictional and they're the real thing. But then they had to bring the Tommy and stuff to let people know, hey, this is very much connected and stuff because of that pilot episode. But anyway, this is I Love Lothor. a very unique episode, very comedic episode. It deals with, let's see, Tori being pursued by two other Rangers, Cam and Blake. I think that's his name. I think Blake is the Navy one. Yeah, Blake. The other one was Hunter. And what's interesting about this show is that this is the first time in Power Rangers history we have two Asian Rangers. This wouldn't be duplicated again until that Mystic Force and RPM. Also, this is the first time we've gotten two Blue Rangers in the series. We've had two Red Rangers before in Time Force, but this is the first time we've ever had two Red Rangers and two Blue Rangers. But their shades of blue are different colors. And it's kind of cool that the two Blue Rangers like each other and stuff. So I'm trying to think how exactly this started off. Um, I know at some point in time on the Evil Space Base, which Lothor's base of operations was pretty cool looking. It was just like this floating ship in the air, and it had like a really cool feature. But it needed more colors to it. It was just like one color and stuff. And it was always shot from a far away distance because it was CGI. And so, like Mara and Capri, played by the two Katrinas. That's kind of cool to have like two actresses named Katrina on there. And so they're just watching TV, and I believe Lothor comes in and they tell him something about his approval rating or something like that is low, and people don't like him or something like that. Because of course he tries to destroy the world. So he wants everybody to love him. So they find like a monster that's gonna like make that happen. But they do it in a very bizarre kind of way where they promote him like on TV, and like, he's trying to appeal to like an all-female audience and everything. And so the monster's going to use like his magic like love balls or whatever to like make them fall in love with him, but he's all like, no, he has like charisma and stuff. Like I said, they got very wacky with the humor, and it was just a bit too much and stuff. Like I like Capri and Mara and everything. They're cool and they're funny. They're like the bulk and skull of the show, but sometimes they took it a little too far with those two characters. They were unique, but mostly like they was like two sisters who just argued all the time, but they had the weirdest fashion sense and everything, and they constantly kept changing their outfits. But it was too comedic. And then with Saban took back over in the Nickelodeon era, he just went crazy with the humor, and that's why he had to resell it again. And so like the Rangers, they are at some place learning how to cook. I believe Cam and Tori went there, and then the other ones just started making fun of them. It was all like, dude, you're a dude. What are you doing in the kitchen and stuff like that? And so, like, oh, by the way, rest in peace, the actor who played Lothar slash Sensei, and also the Red Ranger in this. Although the Red Ranger, now we know probably why he did what he did. If the allegations are true about his wife, Lord, I hope not. But then again, with some of these past Rangers, you just never know and stuff. And so, like, Tori's all like, this is beneficial and this is good, blah, blah, blah. So this makes Blake kind of jealous and wants to take the class too. But then when they see all the girls come in, they want to take it as well. And Kelly's there. Kelly is kind of like a recurring character. She doesn't know they're Rangers. She's friends with the whole entire group, and she runs like this store where Dustin works at. She never really had a big overarching arc. And I don't know what happened to the actress. She just kind of like disappeared sadly and stuff. But it was kind of cool that they had like a recurring character, kind of like an Ernie type thing, that wasn't named Ernie like in the Megaforce thing. And so, like, the monsters and Lothar, they all show up. And so they start, like, getting ready to do their thing. Well, Capri and Mara are arguing about something like always, and they drop the magic, like, love balls and, like, the drinks. And so when Cam and Blake drank it, they fell in love with the first person they saw, and it was Tori. So a rivalry starts, and they start to argue and everything. At some point in time, I forget exactly what happens, but they all end up leaving. And at some point, Lothar does his thing on TV, and then the women are all put under his spell, and they're like all in love with him and everything. And the guys can't understand why. And so they try to tell the women, hey, he's evil. He wants to like destroy you all. And they're all like, what? Y'all lying. Get them. So they start chasing after the guys and stuff. Well, at some point in time, Tori is investigating something at the TV studio. And she sees like Capri and Lothar and all of them because they're getting ready to broadcast on TV. They find her. There's a nice little out of suit battle. There's a lot of out of suit battles in this season because it's a ninja based thing. But sadly, it's normally always the stunt double. So you always see their face covered with their heads down. And that's something that's like, wow, that's a cool martial arts like technique where you have your head down, you can't see, but you're fighting everybody. And so she gets tied up and everything, and Cam and Blake, they're out at the beach and they're arguing and everything. So then they start fighting each other because they're both in love with Tori. And so she gets free eventually, and then she finds Blake and she finds Cam, and they've already morphed. And I gotta say, man, I love the costumes in this season. They are amazing. But the best costume of them all, and I feel the best Power Ranger costume ever, is that of the Green Samurai Ranger from this series. His even outdoes that of Tommy the Green Ranger suit and everything. Like, that's a nice suit. With a nice shield and a nice sword and a nice helmet, and it has a different mode to it. Now the different mode never really gets like featured that much in the American footage, but it does in the Sentai quite a bit. And it has more of a baseball type thing with the sword going in the sheath and stuff like that. And he uses his morpher, I guess, like a baseball, but they don't ever really do that in this series. And what's really interesting is that when it comes to Cam, I've never been a fan of his, only because he was so grumpy and rude and mean before he got his powers. Like, this dude was just mean and stuff. And so it never caused me to like him. Then when he became a Power Ranger, he became nicer, but he barely showed up as a Ranger. And I hate that because his costume was boss level and everything. And I hate when they do that to the additional Rangers. Every once in a while, they just start disappearing from the series and stuff. Or they don't morph with the team. And that really bugs me and stuff. And so now they're fighting with their costumes. And she's like in her civilian clothes. And she's trying to make them stop, but they won't. So then the monster comes. She morphs, which is a nice morph. It's a in time morph, in real time. And so he blasts her, and then they are like, oh no, she's hurt. So I forget how, but somebody ends up breaking the spell, and I forget how. I really do forget how. I think maybe she talks to them or something like that, and they break the spell themselves when they realize what happened and stuff. And so then Blake, he's like pissed, dude. He's like, he takes his weapon, he attaches it to his staff, and he just goes insane on that dude. Just start hitting him left and right and everything. It was just like an awesome fight scene, because the thing about Blake is like Cam doesn't like her, but Blake does. He's been crushing on her and she's been crushing on him ever since he got introduced with his brother when they was like evil Rangers. And that's something very unique. 2 evil Power Rangers and everything. And normally you only get one. And so the rest of the team shows up. And so Cam and the Thunder Rangers, which is Hunter and Blade, they decide to use their Zords, combine them to destroy the monster. Now this is around the time when Zord battles became shorter and shorter. Basically, they'll form the Zord. They might throw a few punches here and there, but then they'll mostly just hit you with their finishing maneuver and stuff. And so, like, Blake and like Tori, they're oh, Tori, I forgot. She was the very first like blue female ranger and stuff. And because when the team first started, what was really unique is that there was only three Rangers in the beginning, red, yellow, and blue. And then the two Thunders came in, and then the Samurai Ranger came in. And so they had like two reds, two blues, one yellow, and one green, which is very unique in Power Rangers at that time. And then it kind of started going that format again with the next season starting off with three and then bringing in others and stuff. And so they're talking and everything because he said like he really liked her and she wanted to know like what that meant, but he was too shy and doesn't want to tell. Even this not even the Saban era, and still they're afraid to like express their feelings and kiss and stuff. So the guys wanted to make it up to her by cooking her some fried chicken. And I've never seen fried chicken look like that before, but it looks really interesting. It made me hungry. But it turns out that like the fried chicken was bought. So this was a pretty cool episode. It was very comedic and everything, but nevertheless, it was pretty cool. The next episode I'm finna review was a bit better with a bit of a stronger story arc and everything. Now, wasn't that romantic? Or depressing, depending on what kind of video I just talked about. Okay, well, happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and bye.